Latin 1, welcome back. I'm going to teach you tonight about the future perfect tense. It is the final tense that we'll be learning this year. In fact, it's the final tense you'll ever learn from me. And then we just kind of move on to things like moods and stuff like that. So the future perfect tense you can find on page 218, and I'll give you some exercises to work on with that. That'll be pretty good for helping you figure it out. Some things you need to keep in mind, okay? The future perfect is only ever used with the future. You don't hardly ever see it on its own unless the future is right before or right after it in a sentence. And the ways that we should think about it are this. The future perfect translates as will have loved, which is a complicated way to do it, but there's no good English way, at least not for a couple of years. Okay? It always gets used with the future tense, like I said, and it is considered the future before the future. Okay? And it takes its stem from the third principal part. So, what I mean by the future before the future is we've already learned the pluperfect. Okay, if you don't remember that, just go back a couple videos. But the pluperfect is the past before the past, just like you have a future before the future. Okay, so if you take a look at, like I said, page 218, there's a chart of the endings, and then there's an example. All verbs do this. All verbs are regular verbs when it comes to the future perfect tense. Okay, it's true with all the perfect tenses, really. So let's talk about how to conjugate it first, okay? So to conjugate the future perfect tense, step one, take the third principal part, which is also known as the perfect. Knock off the I, okay, that ending. So step two, knock off the ending. Step three, add on the personal endings, which are the future of sum esse. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. And of course, step four, flaws. So here we go, amo, amare, amawi, amatum. So step one, take that third principal part, knock off the I, and you've got your perfect stem, amau. And I wrote that 6 times. Amau, 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 amau. 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 Anyway, 6 times. So amawero, amaweris, amawerit, amawerimus, amaweritis, amawerint. That's how it works every single time. You just take your perfect stem and add on the future of sum esse. So it's really important to remember your future of sum esse. And speaking of which, I want to show you a really cool pattern here, okay? So with the future perfect, let's back up a step and look at sum esse. Here it is in all of its splendid glory. Sum esse, sumus esti sunt. Eram eras erat, eramus eratis erant. Ero eris erit, erimus eritis erunt. And we're going to come back to that in a minute. Then in the perfect stems. Fui, fuisti, fuit, fuimus, fuistis, fuerunt. All right? Then we get to the pluperfect. And I told you before that there was a pattern, and there is. The imperfect of esse gets used as the endings of the pluperfect. Perfect stem plus the thing right across from it. So fueram, fueras, fuerat, fueramus, fueratis, fuerant. The same thing happens for the future perfect. The future perfect is right there. It takes its stem from the perfect, just like all the rest, but then it takes its ending from right across the hall, the future of sum esse. There's a reason that I've been having you do these 3 columns the entire year. Fuero, fueris, fuerit, fuerimus, fueritis, fuerint. Now, some of you might notice that I pointed to it, okay? Erunt is the future of sum esse. Erint is not. However, the reason that we have to do erunt is if you take a look right here. Fuerunt is already used in the perfect. We don't want to confuse people and be chronological liars. So what ends up happening is fuerunt turns into fuerint. So that future of sum esse, erunt, in the future perfect turns into erint. It's a thing you have to memorize. It's a little cheat, and that's how it works. Now some examples, because what's life without a few examples? And then I'll give you exercises to do. Please type them up in a Google Doc and send them to me so I can give you the necessary feedback to help you. Thank you to those of you who've done it. Ubi pueri et puellae sub arcu advenient, Titus et Cornelius manus iam laverint. When the boys and the girls will arrive under the arch, Titus and Cornelius already will have washed their hands. So my question to you is, which thing happened first? The arrival under the arch or the two gentlemen washing their hands? Well, the way you can tell is this is in the future perfect. Therefore, this happens before the rest of this happens. Okay, this happens before this. So it is the future before the future. So as you can see, when the boys will arrive, boys and girls will arrive, I'm reading everything backwards, I apologize, under the arch, okay, so that will happen, let's say at 2 o'clock. Titus and Cornelius already will have washed, let's say they did it at 1:55, their hands. So that happens first. I gave you one more sentence here, and by the way, notice I did lawerint, right? Lawo, laware, lawi, lautum. So erint, right? And then I give you another example here. Tamen lecticarius Cornelius nolet, quod alter senator eum conduxerit. However, the litter bearer will refuse the Cornelii. Okay, future tense. Hasn't happened yet, will. Because another senator will have hired him. So, which one happens first? Conduxerit. Because this is future perfect and it happens before nolet. You'll often see them in the same sentence, or they'll be within a sentence of each other. Because the future perfect doesn't really exist on its own, because it's weird to put things in the future perfect unless you've also got a future to reference it to. Okay? So, however, the litter bearer will refuse the Cornelii, say he refuses them at 2 o'clock, because another senator will have hired him. That's going to happen in the future, but before he refuses the Cornelii. So say at 1:45. That's how it works. So what I want you to do, you've hung in with me this far. It's kind of a complicated tense, but I want you to take a look at exercise 24D, as in canis, because D is a really, really good one for telling the future and the future perfect. Use will have verbed, will have loved, will have washed, will have thrown, whatever it is, okay? Use the will have when you have the future perfect. If you see a future perfect, you should look for a future as well. So exercise 24D really nails that. Also, in your book, what they will often do is, if you take a look at 24E, it says unless you move / will have moved, always treat it as will have moved. Okay? In English, we do it differently, and they expect you to have kind of good English. I say not until level 3. So 24D, absolutely. Also 24E, because 24E is a revisit of the pluperfect, but it also helps reinforce the future perfect. Once you are done with that, then you should probably go ahead and do review 5, exercise B, review 5, exercise C. Okay? When you're done with all of that and you've sent me all the feedback, then go back and start translating all the chapters all the way up through review 5. And the next few videos you're going to see are going to be a couple more lessons, and then it's going to be translations from here to the end. Okay? So again, exercise 24C and D, and then as well, I'm sorry, not C and D, D and E. Review 24, exercise D and E, and then review 5, exercise B and C. Do those. Focus on those. Once you get the feedback you need from those, then go back and do all the translations that we haven't covered yet. Okay? If you've already done them, go back through and correct them. Okay? Just to start looking for tenses, and that should be of some help to you. Anyway, I hope that your week is going well. I hope that your teachers are reasonable. And if not, you let them know what's going on. All right, I'm going to push the button now.